Chinese pot. That's the way to learn Chinese. Chinese pot, Chinese pot.
Hi everyone, welcome to Chinese Pod. My name's Fiona.
And my name's Gwilym.
In today's elementary lesson, we're going to learn how to make plans with your friends. We're going to be choosing a specific type of restaurant. We're also going to be learning how to say if in Chinese. So if this happens, then we'll do that. If that happens, then we'll do this.
Okay, any key words before listening to the dialogue we should pay attention to?
So one of the trickier terms I'd like to give you a heads up are 海味.
Sea flavor. Seafood?
So maybe someone that wants to eat seafood. And another term, 活鱼三吃.
活鱼 must be living fish or fresh fish. And 三吃 is 3 ways of cooking. We'll talk about that later.
Yes, don't worry about that. We'll talk about that in more detail later, but those are the terms that I wanted to give you a heads up on. All right, well, let's listen to today's dialogue.
好。
对话第一遍。
你说明天中午一起吃饭，要吃什么？
吃海味怎么样？
我昨天去吃了活鱼三吃，别再吃海味了。
那我们去野餐？
如果下雨的话怎么办？
下雨的话，就后天再一起吃饭吧。
第二遍。
你说明天中午一起吃饭，要吃什么？
吃海味怎么样？
我昨天去吃了活鱼三吃，别再吃海味了。
那我们去野餐？
如果下雨的话怎么办？
下雨的话，就后天再一起吃饭吧。
第三遍。
你说明天中午一起吃饭，要吃什么？
吃海味怎么样？
我昨天去吃了活鱼三吃，别再吃海味了。
那我们去野餐？
如果下雨的话怎么办？
下雨的话，就后天再一起吃饭吧。
Are you ready, Tom? What is going on here?
Well, I'm trying to practice these characters that you gave me.
Oh my god, all this on paper? Did you not download the Chinese Pod writing app?
Go to ChinesePod.com/app and check out the new Chinese Pod writing app. Practice writing Chinese characters wherever, whenever. The new writing app, only at ChinesePod.com. Save trees, get smart.
Okay, translations.
你说明天中午一起吃饭，要吃什么？
You mentioned you want to go together to eat lunch tomorrow afternoon. What would you like to eat?
你说明天中午一起吃饭，要吃什么？
You mentioned you want to go together to eat lunch tomorrow afternoon. What would you like to eat?
吃海味怎么样？
How about eating seafood?
吃海味怎么样？
How about something fishy?
我昨天去吃了活鱼三吃，别再吃海味了。
I had fresh fish 3 ways yesterday. Let's not eat that again.
我昨天去吃了活鱼三吃，别再吃海味了。
Maybe you translate this one for you?
Yesterday, I had fresh fish 3 ways. Let's not have seafood again. 那我们去野餐。
Then how about we have a picnic?
那我们去野餐。
Or how about we go for a picnic?
如果下雨的话怎么办？
And if it rains, what do we do?
如果下雨的话怎么办？
And if it were to rain, what would we do?
下雨的话，就后天再一起吃饭吧。
If it rains, then we can try going the day after next.
下雨的话，就后天再一起吃饭吧。
If it rains, then we can go the day after tomorrow.
Alright, so we got loads of interesting terms in today's lesson. Let's start with the part where he's confirming their plans.
Yeah, he says, you mentioned that we were going to grab lunch tomorrow.
你说, so this can be translated as you said, you mentioned. 你说明天中午
Tomorrow noontime, together eat food.
要吃什么?
What would you like to eat?
So there you go, that's the breakdown. This is a great way to confirm plans with someone. So you mentioned that you want to do this. Well, what would you like to eat? She's very specific. She says 吃海味.
味 is like 味道, which means flavor or taste. Here, 海味, sea flavor.
The flavors of the sea. So you can probably translate this as, oh, I fancy some seafood. 吃海味.
Now, what's the actual noun for seafood?
海鲜. 海鲜
Now, after making a suggestion, pop this long phrase at the end to be like, how about that?
怎么样？怎么样？ Gwilym, 我们吃火锅怎么样？
Gwilym. Hot pot? How about that?
喝杯咖啡怎么样？
What do you think about having a cup of coffee?
That's right. Now, he says he had fresh fish 3 ways. It almost sounds like a tongue twister in English. Fresh fish 3 ways.
Okay, so fresh fish is
活鱼. So here it says living fish. 三吃 3 eat. Now, when you look at it the first time, it probably seems like you're eating the fish alive or maybe some kind of like sashimi, raw, fresh fish. But in fact, what it really means is just fish cooked 3 ways. Now, when you go to a restaurant, the number of ways you can eat it can vary. Maybe some restaurants will have 活鱼5吃, 活鱼7吃.
so fresh fish 3, 5, or 7
right?
ways.
Completely depends on the restaurant. But when you see that on a menu, it means they have a wide range of ways to cook it. It's usually very exciting. Now, 活鱼, you can imagine a Chinese restaurant where the fish are kind of swimming about either in the entrance of the restaurant or outside of the restaurant. So this would be a typical place where you would find 活鱼3吃 or 5吃7吃 whatever. And some typical ways of cooking it might be sweet and sour fish or deep fried fish or fermented bean fried with fish.
And he said he had this yesterday, so he doesn't want to go again.
He says, 我昨天去吃了活鱼3吃. So yesterday I had this fresh fish cooked 3 ways. Please, no more seafood. It must be a lot to eat the same fish 3 ways. And that's where we hear this 别. Usually it's kind of stronger. It means don't do something, right? So he's like, please, no more seafood. 别再吃海味了. Here you can also use 不能. 我不能再吃海味了. I mean, 别 would be more appropriate, but 不能 would imply it's like I physically can't eat any more fish.
I can't stomach it. So she suggests a picnic.
Great term to learn. 野餐.
This character, 野, third tone, can translate as an open space or a field. So
or
a
kind of
field,
wilderness.
Wilderness food.
Wilderness meal. 我们去野餐. Now we hear this great sentence structure where he proposes a scenario. What if it rains? 如果下雨的话怎么办? Now let's break that down. First we hear the term 如果. What does that mean, Gwilym?
If.
If. Now this is the classic translation for the word if. However, we also have this other part. 下雨的话. This 的话 highlights that the speaker is giving you a scenario of sorts, right? It's not just if something will happen. This 的话 indicates a scenario. So the scenario is, what if it rains? 如果下雨的话怎么办? What are we going to do?
Okay, so how about some more sentences with this 如果 verb 的话 or action 的话?
如果外面太热的话 if it's too hot outside, 我们就在家吧.
Then we will just stay at home.
如果外面太冷的话就多穿件外套. If it's too cold outside, just put on another jacket.
Okay, so in the translation we're hearing if, but we're not really hearing the word 的话 translated. So could I get rid of the 的话 or the 如果?
You can omit that in conversation. If the context is very clear, you could say 如果太热就在家吧, or you can also say 太热的话就在家吧.
Okay, so to be clear, there are 3 ways of saying it. You can do the full way.
如果下雨的话我们就别出去吧.
You can do the more colloquial way, which is to drop the 如果.
下雨的话我们就别出去吧.
And finally, you could also do
如果下雨就别出去吧. I would say the first 2 are the most natural. So you can either say the full sentence. I feel like as a beginner, it's good to practice the full sentences. And as you progress in your Mandarin, you'll get a natural inkling as to which things you can drop. And if you want to be more colloquial, I would definitely say hold on to 的话 instead of 如果. Now, This is the problem if you rely on the translation method when learning a language, because technically it feels like there's an if, right? If rain, if, what are we going to do? Because both of these structures help us form this if question, this if scenario. It's almost like in Spanish where you put the exclamation mark at the front, right? You're making the listener aware that you're posing a situation, right? You're posing a scenario. If, and then 下雨的话, and then now you're kind of painting the picture of the scenario. I know this is a very simple sentence that we're dealing with, but I just want you guys to have the right concept going forward.
I remember in Chinese class, my classmate would always use this 的话 structure. And I was always like, wow, they sound so fluent. And I was really impressed because I hadn't learned that structure of just using the 的话.
One of those great tricks to make your Mandarin sound more fluent. All right, well, let's see it in practice again in this final line. Now they say, 下雨的话就后天再一起吃饭吧. See, here they've dropped the 如果, but it's implied.
So if it rains, then we can try another day.
Specifically the day after tomorrow, and that is 后天. 后天. So let's start with today. 今天. Tomorrow. 明天. And then day after tomorrow. 后天. That's right, you guys got it.
And I'll link a video to the different ways to describe day after tomorrow, day before yesterday.
All right, well, let's go back to this sentence and look at this character 在. Let me read you the full sentence one more time. 我们就后天再一起吃饭吧. What does this 再 mean, Gwilym?
It translates as again, but actually it's better to think of try again because they've not eaten yet, so they can't have it again.
Yes,
it's
let's
to try one more
again.
time.
You'll definitely have heard this 在 before, and it's in 再见, goodbye, right? I'll see you again. Now in this case, they're gonna try again.
Okay, that concludes our discussion for today, so how about we listen to the dialogue 3 more times?
我们再来听听今天的对话.
Hi, my name is Lucy, and I wanted to tell you about some of the changes that we are making to our podcasts. So, in the past, we maintained one podcast in which we have been publishing all our episodes across all proficiency levels. But we listened to a lot of feedback, and you were telling us that it's not really beneficial for a beginner to have advanced level podcasts in the mix. And likewise, intermediate and advanced learners do not really benefit from beginner lessons. Therefore, this August, we will split our feeds in separate feeds: Chinese Pod Newbie, Chinese Pod Beginners, Chinese Pod Intermediate, and a Chinese Pod Advanced, which will be in Chinese only with no English. So, why am I telling you that? It is because if you are subscribed to this feed, you will suddenly see podcasts ending. And that won't be because Chinese Pod is no longer publishing those, but because you need to pick your specific feed. For any more information, or if you have any feedback on our podcasts, we welcome you to visit ChinesePod.com/podcasts.
对话第一遍.
你说明天中午一起吃饭，要吃什么？
吃海味怎么样？
我昨天去吃了活鱼三吃，别再吃海味了。
那我们去野餐？
如果下雨的话怎么办？
下雨的话，就后天再一起吃饭吧。
第二遍.
你说明天中午一起吃饭，要吃什么？
吃海味怎么样？
我昨天去吃了活鱼三吃，别再吃海味了。
那我们去野餐？
如果下雨的话怎么办？
下雨的话，就后天再一起吃饭吧。
第三遍.
你说明天中午一起吃饭，要吃什么？
吃海味怎么样？
我昨天去吃了活鱼三吃，别再吃海味了。
那我们去野餐？
如果下雨的话怎么办？
下雨的话，就后天再一起吃饭吧。
Gwilym, 你有吃过活鱼三吃吗? Have you ever had fresh fish 3 ways in a restaurant?
I thought there was only one way to cook fish, and that was
deep
battered.
fried
Yeah.
with some chips. Gwilym's usually quite squeamish when you see the animals being dragged out of their baths and straight into the pot. So It's one of those things I haven't taken Gwilym to enjoy, but it's quite good marketing technique, right? You'll see it on a lot of signs for restaurants. They'll say, oh, we can cook this oyster or this fish or this type of crab 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ways.
So if I've got a choice between a 3吃 and a 7吃, surely I should try the 7 ways. They're a bit more inventive.
Quite intense. That's a lot of fish you're eating. But it's definitely a fun thing to try out if you have a chance. If you're going to your local Chinese restaurant or you're traveling around China, it's a great way to experience the versatility of the local cuisine.
Alright, well, we hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and we'll see you guys next time.
好，那我们就下次见，再见。
As usual, ChinesePod provides an extensive selection of learning materials for this lesson on its website, www.chinesepod.com. You can access this lesson directly with the lesson number 3076. So just go to www.chinesepod.com/3076 and you will find a transcript, vocabulary, and much more. The link again, www.chinesepod.com/3076.
Chinese Pod, Chinese Pod.